Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hello and welcome once again to another quick shot review for Cheap Shot Entertainment, the dedicated movie channel in which we give you quick reviews of films that have been released at the cinema and sometimes on streaming services. Today's movie in question is Five Nights at Freddy's. It is directed by Emma Tammy and it has come out very recently. It is rated as a 15 here in the UK, but a PG-13 in America. And the 15 means that obviously you have to be 15 years of age to go and see this film, or in America you can be 13 and accompanied by an adult. So, yeah, 1 hour 50 minutes of fairly entertaining imagery and things like that, but I'll go into detail as to what my initial thoughts are. But I'm going to go and give you the blurb, the official blurb. So, a troubled security guard begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a take on the Chuck E. Cheese pizza thing that they used to have in America. Closest thing we ever got over here was obviously Ronald McDonald's, but you know, I'm not condoning that restaurant or advertising it for any reason whatsoever, because I'm not sponsored by them. Anyway, during his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's. And there you go. That's it. As someone who has not played the games, but only seen videos of what other people have played, this interested me in a different way. I'll explain why very quickly. Because during 2020, I found a film called Willy's Wonderland, and it is basically the same film, only it was done 3 years prior. It was, obviously you could argue that Five Nights at Freddy's, the game, was out a lot earlier than that. But it was done lightheartedly. It had a reasonable amount of gore, and it had Nicolas Cage in it, and it was brilliant. So much fun to watch. This, on the other hand, whilst I adore the cinematography, Emma Tammy is very, very good at creating atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. The sound design was beautiful. There wasn't any jump scares from what I can remember, and I only saw this last night, which is bizarre because it's my understanding that the whole idea of Five Nights at Freddy's is that end jump scare, is that the animatronics are trying to get you and so on and so forth. So the idea is that Mike, the main character here, who's looking after his younger sister, needs to take a job. And Mike is played by Josh Hutcherson, which he does a great job. He's looking after his little sister, played by Piper Rubio, who plays Abby. And he has to take a job. He's in a sort of custody battle with his aunt, Aunt Jane, played by Mary Stuart Matheson. And he needs to prove that he is responsible enough to look after his younger sister. So he takes the only job that the local job agency will give him, and the job advisor is Steve, also played by Matthew Lillard. And it took me a while to realise which character he was until he started speaking like Matthew Lillard, and it sounded a bit like Shaggy from Scooby Doo. But I love Matthew Lillard. He's brilliant. And great to see him back in a film, sort of light-hearted film of this type. Um, and he's given the job of night security at Freddy Fazbear's, a restaurant that is no longer in operation for reasons we will find out later on in the film, which I'm not going to spoil for you. If you've played the games, you'll know anyway. But if you're just going into this like I did as a film fan, then that is something of consideration. Now I'm going to go a bit further into the story. Mike, not Matthew, Matthew Lillard, Mike. Mike is on duty, and the local police officer who's Freddy Fazbear's on her beat is Vanessa, played by Elizabeth Lally, and becomes a little bit of a love interest of Mike as we go through. So they're the main characters. Obviously, you've then got the different animatronics, which I wouldn't be able to tell you who they are because they don't really get explored, apart from Freddy Fazbear, and I know who he is, or she. It could be a she. Um, Interesting idea. Like I say, it was done 3 years prior, probably based on Five Nights at Freddy's, but bringing out a Freddy's movie now just seems ill-timed. Emma Tammy did the movie um, Megan. There we go. I know it was there somewhere. She directed the movie Megan. Again, it's a movie that a lot of people love. I don't particularly enjoy it, and I didn't at the time. Could be something I'd go back to and have a second thought on it. But as much as she's a good director, I think she's been given some really dud projects, especially with this one. Again, don't let this influence you. These are just my opinions. But if you want to go and see the movie, if you're a fan of the game, I'm sure there's lots in here that you will absolutely love. But like I say, it's just the lack of the jump scare, which, like I say, I believe is the main reason that people start playing it and filming it and putting it on YouTube, from what I've seen. Now, I always like to pick out something that I really loved about a film. Now, what I appreciate about this film is the fact that, unlike a lot of studios who use CGI, Five Nights at Freddy's actually employed sort of Jim Henson's Creature Shop. And they were actually responsible for the creation of the Freddy Fazbear animatronics. And that actually brings me into the film a little bit more because you could actually tell that these things are interacting with the actors on that level. Usually, when CGI is involved, you're talking to fresh air. And that came in and that came across as something that was really, really good about the film. The interactions with the main characters and the animatronics from Freddy Fazbear's. Also of note, the atmosphere, the set design, especially the restaurant, it created an extra character for me, and that was good. I enjoyed that. It had interesting ideas, and like I say, I'm not going to spoil those for anybody if you've never played the game. But for me, it just fell down too far on lots of other things. The pacing was not great. Um, we did get a lot of backstory for the main character, Mike, but there's certain decisions that were made that, it's a horror film. You know you're going to get bad decisions, but just didn't make sense. And yeah, I was questioning some things there more than what I'd usually do in a horror film. With the tagline "Can you survive?" the answer is yes, I did, and it was, like I say, reasonably light-hearted. There's a couple of scenes where um, they do show some more horror-based stuff, but there isn't. You don't get to actually see people being killed, so that's probably the consideration here in the UK. There is a little bit of blood, but not you're not actually seeing it. So, would I recommend Five Nights at Freddy's? Yes, if you've played the game, yeah, absolutely. I'm told that there's lots of Easter eggs in here from the games if you absolutely adore them. If you're a casual viewer like me, maybe you'll go in and you'll think, that was really good. I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining because there was bits where it was fully entertaining. I'm just saying it's not for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to, and it wasn't quite as light-hearted or as funny as I would like it to be with animatronics based in a pizza restaurant. Um, so it's a difficult one to recommend, but like I always say, if you want to go and see it, go and see it, and that's pretty much it. So I don't know what the next film's going to be, but as soon as I do, as soon as it's booked, there's not a lot on in the cinema apart from a 3-hour film, something about flowers, I think, um, that's actually in the cinema, and I don't know if I can bring myself to actually go and sit for 3 hours in a film. But there you go. So yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's probably worth a watch, but again, I'm quite hardcore in terms of horror films, and I've seen a lot better. And obviously, this is only a 15, but then I've seen 15 rated films done a lot better as well. So there you go. That's my thoughts on it. I hope to see you again soon for the podcast. Please do consider going to Cheap Shot Entertainment and Cheap Shot Entertainment System. That is the gaming channel, and following us there, and also follow us on social media as well. Once again, you've been the Cheap Shot Nation. I've been Luke.
And I'll see you next time, Cheap Shot Nation. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
Hiya. Hiya.